Good morning to everyone. My name is Sam Cunningham, and I am the new program analyst for the MIC program here at CNAP in San Diego and the Navy Audit Liaison. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to run through a couple of things that I listed in an email about some of the changes we're going to do for the upcoming year and forward, and to clarify some things on our agenda that was posted in the 5200 note. Speaking of that, the 5200 note and the tone from the top, and all of these templates I'm going to talk about are all posted on the SharePoint site. So please take some time to go and take a look at them. So I want to start with the agenda, the schedule that's posted in the 5200. There's a couple of changes we want to make that we want to advise you of. There is an amended schedule posted on SharePoint site as with a link from the MIC page that talks about some of the things that we've consolidated or eliminated, or mostly the dates that we've changed. There's a requirement now for you to do a 3-year plan, which is a tool, a Excel spreadsheet that you'll have to complete along with completing a 5200 note or instruction is going to be required for everyone, so that we can all be on the same page and not get different formats here and there. The only other big things are the changing of the dates of the quarterly updates. The spot checks will be due 30 days after the end of each quarter now, and I'll be reviewing those within 2 weeks after you post them to the site. So those are the big things that I wanted to go over for the agenda change. So please make sure that you take a look at the amended copy on the site. The next thing I wanted to talk about are the actual templates. Talked about the 5200 MIC plan. The other thing that accompanies that is our new 3-year plan. And this new 3-year plan is designed to help you look at those things that are high risk more often, and those low risk items, move them to every 3rd year. So you'll notice that when you get this, it will have all of the sub-AUs for everyone on there. And of course, you can filter yours out, because you'll need to filter yours out. We're going to ask you that you return these things back with your plan, with any of your updates. And you'll need to make sure that the coordinator and the function POCs are correct. You won't have to worry about reporting categories here, but if you have this information on the highest governing regulation, we'd appreciate that. And then for this year and this year only, the assessed risk is going to be unlocked. So you'll be able to go in and take a look and determine what it is that is high, medium, or low for you, and make those changes. After this year, we'll be locking those for future years, because they tie directly into when things need to be reviewed. So the first portion of the spreadsheet is pretty self-explanatory with all the AU information and contact information. The last half of it is based on our assessed levels, and then what we want to do either as a CNAP level or at your local command. So we've got 17, 18, and 19 listed out there, and let's say, for example, we're going to take this out, local command required, and so if it's a low risk, you notice that it's only showing up in 19. You look at it, first time you look at it is 19. Strongly controlled, no need to look at it every year. If it's medium, it will be looked at next year, and if it is high, then we look at it 17, 18, and 19. So there is a way to override this, though. Let's say that it's low, which means that it's looked at only in 19. We can change that, whereas if the local commander wants to look at it, it will be looked at every year. Or if we have a CNAP requirement, because we want to look at it at region level, it will be looked at every year. So it's as simple as that. You'll fill this out, make the changes, and get it back to us with your portion of it, along with your proposed 5200 noter instruction for the year. So that is the 3-year plan. The other change is our quarterly spot checks. So right now I've taken a look at some of the quarterly spot checks I've gotten back, and it's pretty much just been an email or a some type of memo, very brief, about that we believe controls are in place. Well, that's going to change so that we describe exactly what it is that we've been looking at. So we are responsible for 10 sub-assessable units, say, and we get 10 in a quarter. There's no requirement to look at all 10 in that quarter. You can choose whatever number it is that you want to choose, as long as throughout the year all of your assessable units are covered. So if you, in this example, I chose 3 of 3, and then I put exactly what it is that I did over here, and it's per review of some checklists. And when you looked at that checklist, you determined that they actually showed evidence that they've tested something. You know, that's the whole premise behind this program, is that we're testing our own controls. One of the examples I have in here is that we use an external report. There's no sense in doing double work. If there's an external review that's going to cover the same checklist that you would normally cover during that time, you can use the results of that report to say that controls are in place and working as intended. And if they are in place and work as intended, but there were findings, then you'll have to address that in your checklist remarks. So when the MIC coordinator looks at it, they know that they've been resolved. At the end of this, you will certify that you looked at their checklist, and that checklist said that they use one of these methods to test their controls. That they inquired with someone, that they inspected something, that they observed something, that they did a walkthrough, or they did a reperformance of something to let you know that the controls were working. If there are no issues, you'll check that block off and sign it. If there are issues, you'll name it, what the assessable unit, sub-assessable unit was, and then corrective actions that are due, and whatever the date is they're due. And this will be signed. You can double click it and sign the document and submit that as your quarterly report memo to the SharePoint site. So that is the new quarterly spot check. I will be taking samples of these for my own review, and my goal is to visit each of the stateside MIC coordinators at least once during the year. So that is the second change: quarterly spot checks and a 3-year plan. The last checklist template that I wanted to go over is one that can be useful for the person that is actually doing the checklists and doing the testing. But this isn't a requirement. It's just a kind of a nice thing to have. I use it for assessing my own sub-assessable units because it tallies things for me and allows me to kind of see the things that are critical. It's pretty simple. It's the same checklist that we provide on the SharePoint site, but I've just modified it for some things. I have a column in here for a critical element now to let me know whether or not that question is really important and one that I should be concerned about testing. And then at the top here, I have some calculations to let me know how many critical elements are yes or no, and how many overall are yes or no. And then it allows me to just put a subjective and arbitrary number up here as far as what's acceptable for me as far as a critical element error rate, and what's acceptable for an overall error rate. And then the overall yeses and nos to the questions, what's not applicable, and then what my critical error rate is. And based on those, if everything falls within the rate, it tells me whether or not it's yes or no. So like I said, this isn't a required tool. It's just one that I think is helpful. Just one thing about the tool: just think about the numbers, the ones and the zeros. If I want it to count, if I want something to count under yes that this thing is being done, I put a 1 there. If I don't want it to count, I would put a 0. So it's going to either be a 1 in yes, no, or NA. This critical error column right here is a calculated field and it's locked, so you wouldn't be able to make any changes on that. But you can go ahead and put yes or no. And then once you do this and put your notes about what it is that you tested, once you do this the first time, really what you're changing are numbers or specific document numbers applicable to that quarter that you're testing, and it goes pretty fast after that. So this tool is up there, not a requirement, but just a nice to have kind of note. So that pretty much covers everything I wanted to cover really briefly on the tools that we have out there, and let you know that the note is out there and the new schedule is out there. I'll be making short videos on each of the elements of the process, so that you understand things like what should be a sub-AU and risk assessments as well. And I'll also be using the DCO, actually the DCO replacement, which is the Defense Collaboration Services. I'll be sending out information on how to get an account for that, so that I can pass information quickly, and I can address some questions that you might have as well. So my goal is to make the process as understandable as possible for you, while making sure that we cover all our bases in assessing our controls every year. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions, and you'll definitely be getting more information from me throughout the year.